Hey guys, and welcome back to the backyard. Really quick today. We are going to work on a bit of a project. You see, on the backyard there is a BH, and some strange things have happened to him. He has become a little bit grain-like, if you could say. Basically, on the server there was a little bit of a mini thing here. Oh, my FOV is normal. Oh, who am I? Normal FOV. Nah, I need my sickening 90. Anyway, why do they always show up at the worst time? First I lost my penguin, now this. Anyway, it's a long story. But on the server, we had a little bit of a mini event here about with me and a few of the other members, where we were going to try and build like some of the Hermitcraft members, just as a little bit of a building study, and make some builds kind of inspired by each of their styles. So we have BH here with a building very much inspired by Graham. Over this way, we have, if we venture this way, oh my goodness me. Look at that. We have the Satay Noodle here, who has made a build inspired by Scar, Good Times with Scar. And then up here on the hills in the distance is Emchamu's build inspired by BWO. And it's not done. I hope it's not done, because it looks like both BH and Satay are done. And I haven't even started. It's been over a week since we began it, and I haven't even touched the area that I was supposed to be building in. So yeah, I was given Pearlescent Moon to kind of be inspired by today, and that is who I am just going to do a little build study on and take some inspiration from. Now, Pearl has some absolutely amazing builds throughout the years, and one of the things that I personally admire her the most for, I mean, she has some very amazing like natural builds, as well as really cool buildings, as well as cool alien bases and cool interiors for like spooky areas, and there's so many different kinds of builds of hers that are very interesting. But if you see here, you know, we have 3 buildings, and I didn't feel like building. I don't feel like building a house, to be honest with you. I am very grateful that I got Pearl, actually. One of the things that I admire most about Pearl is her ability to build absolutely amazing terrain. And so I thought, what could be a little bit of fun here? We have a little area here. This little island will eventually be the main entrance into my village, into my town. This will be the main pathway, or maybe over there. I haven't decided yet. One of these areas will be a main pathway into my medieval village, which is just over those trees in the distance. I thought it might be nice to build the entrance of town, kind of inspired by Pearl's terrain that she's built. Now, in Season 8 and Season 9, those are particularly my favorite examples of her terrain, especially Season 8, Pearl's base. I think that design and that color combination is amazing. Pearl's Season 9 base is also amazing, but I really do love something about the simplicity of Season 8's base. It was very beautiful. So I've collected just a few resources, not too many here for us, because to be honest with you, it's hard collecting resources. It's hard. Look, it's the lead left behind by my penguin. And so today it might be a bit of a shorter episode as we kind of transform this here area, inspired by the Pearlescent Moon. I will talk a little bit in the beginning here about some of my building processes, because I have gotten questions in the past about like how I use my brain, because, you know, it's a mystery to most people, including myself. But if you are wondering how I have gotten around to building a lot of the things that I have, I would definitely say that inspiration, just like in any art, is probably one of the most important things. We are not born in a bubble, but pretty much everything that we come across in our day-to-day is getting registered in our brain, and it's getting filed away, and eventually, when your brain thinks it's important to bring up again, you will remember all these cool things you've seen on Pinterest, in real life, in all sorts of areas. In the last episode, I, for an example, inspired a lot of the pathways that we were creating in the farmlands from real pathways that I have walked on in more rural areas of America. But also in Australia too, where you have roads with little ditches on either side collecting up water, and I've always found those little areas with the bugs and the water and the little bits of lichen and moss that grow in there to be absolutely fascinating. And so it was a lot of fun to be able to put that into the game and be able to dedicate like a proper space for it. And I think while my personal favorite thing is to get inspiration from nature and stuff like that. Also getting inspiration from video games, Skyrim probably being my #1 biggest inspiration to me, but also the Dragon Age games are another big inspiration, as well as Honkai Star Rail, which I absolutely love. It's a very different kind of vibe to this, but it has inspired me a lot to just like come up with stories and stuff, because I do really love like some of the stories in that. For this area, I didn't want to go too crazy on it because, like I said, I am late. What a surprise, you know? I only get worse and worse at it as the days go on in my life. But we are going to have a little bit of a gradient, trying to attempt some of the similar gradients that Pearl uses in her builds, going from this terracotta here to granite and to this lighter light gray terracotta. And then I was thinking of adding in some green terracotta, some moss, and some green concrete powder. Soul sand, soil, and mud for around the beaches here, as well as potentially some coarse dirt, except I kind of forgot it. Oops. We have mahogany logs, which have a very beautiful wood color. Thank you, Jaizmod, for adding this beautiful block in the game. I think it is my new favorite wood type. Does it beat spruce? Does it beat spruce? Spruce and dark oak, they are my favorites, but mahogany is certainly a top tier block. So one of the things I noticed in some of Pearl's designs that I hadn't noticed before was that there's little bits of stone sticking out, and in these areas there's like lighter concrete. Mine's not the best. I made the wrong color, but I feel like we can use this is gray concrete in the build, so we are going a little bit off the inspiration, but I feel like that's kind of how inspiration should be. You can look at your reference image as much as you want, but you do have to make a little bit of it your own, and I feel like that's kind of the fun of it. So I'm going to be adding in this darker color, and to tie the two in between, we're going to have some tuff, and that is a little bit harsh of a gradient. But you know what? We're just gonna see what happens. Why not? It doesn't have to be perfect anyway, and you know, we're just gonna have some fun with it. My goodness, my inventory. So, like I said, this is gonna be a kind of our entrance into town. This area over here, I was actually planning on having as our little industrial district. So, as we come into town, we will be having like a forge and like a tannery and like a whole bunch of other things over here. And right now, the one and only nether portal close to my base is this thing. So I thought it might be nice to actually set up a proper, like, portal here, perhaps. I don't know what the heck I want the portal to look like, though, so that is another big problem that we will have to figure out. But to begin, I think we're just going to start with some simple terrain. I think I might go around the outside. Now, this is not something that I saw Pearl doing. This is more so something that I thought would be fun to add in myself. So I wanted to add like just some mud and stuff around the water here. This is not a major river or anything, but it does go all the way out and all the way to spawn. So it is a river we would like to preserve and have actually traversable. So yeah, I do want to have like a dock or something somewhere where boats can at least park like around here where it's a bit wider. But for now, we're just going to start my flashback recording first of all. We're gonna add some like mud, some soul sand, just stuff like this all around the water's edge. Kind of show how the water, oh my goodness, in some spots it's so slow. But yeah, making it kind of something like this. A lot of the time when I'm placing blocks down for like different texturing things and stuff like that, to be honest with you, I am just going off of, have I placed this block relatively recently? Yes? No? I don't know. We'll just add it in. Yeah, that'll look good here. Sure. Those are the thoughts that kind of go through my mind, and A lot of the time, I'm not of the opinion that things have to look perfect. And I know I spoke about that already in a previous video, but some of these things, I mean, I don't mean to be a Bob Ross here. Some of these things really don't need to be perfect. They can be perfectly imperfect and take up their own shape and style and their own personality as well. So I have this as the kind of edge of the area here. And now we will go up a little bit. We'll go up here to this level. And up here, we can start adding in some fun colors maybe. We can introduce some of these things, maybe with some of this mahogany in places. And then put some of this granite. And then the terracotta can show up. And then with this terracotta, I'm just going to blend it a little bit into the granite and everything. And do our little fun thing here. I don't know how it's looking, but that's how it's looking so far. We might need to smooth out some of this area here and add in some areas where it's starting to go back already. Have it go up into like this lighter color up here. I'm gonna bring some of this green terracotta around because Pearl kind of has something like that going in a lot of these areas. Have something like this, and then we'll introduce some moss into other areas just to lighten it up a little. We'll also bring some of the green down this layer. And we just keep looking at it from afar, see if it looks good. And you know, a lot of the times this is just a real experimentation because I've really not done a kind of color palette with this kind of thing. So this is actually pretty fun. And up the top, we will of course have dirt with just grass. We also want to make sure it goes up. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea of what we're building here. I'm gonna just make some mounds with a bit of a pathway going through the center, and that's kind of the plan. So hopefully this will go well. I find trying to break it down into smaller parts is a little bit easier, because otherwise it's a little bit overwhelming for sure. I mean, especially with the amount of blocks in my inventory. What's even happening here? But just saying, like, here are my blocks basically for around the water here. Just kind of think of a shape as well for how things will be. We'll have a little mound here, kind of go into a bigger mound here, and then we'll have another mound over here. And we'll have something interesting. And our pathway will kind of just go through here. We'll just have a little area here. Not too big an area that we're transforming today, but definitely an interesting study. Yes, since we're bringing this along over this way, I think we will take this basically around to this corner and fill in all of this with some of our design here. But yeah, if we know that around the water we have these blocks, and that will just alternate between and say, yeah, we got our mud, we got our soul sand, we got our concrete powder, and we know what this area is going to look like, and we know it can be brought up. And then once we get to the second level, we can start bringing in mahogany planks. These areas we can start bringing in these kind of colors. I need to get some moss. And then basically for the second area, we have this second set of blocks essentially that we will now alternate between, which is the mahogany, terracotta, granite, and light gray terracotta. Introduce a lot of this mahogany to kind of tie between this warmer soul sand into the terracotta kind of thing. Also put some granite here and there to just mix things up. And now we can just basically build up whatever kind of shape or design we want to have, alternating between these blocks that we have in our inventory and kind of just getting ourselves a bit of a pattern here. Now, like I said, I did want to bring this down a little bit to like a flatter spot here. So we will have, so we got the gradient from terracotta to granite to light gray terracotta, and we're kind of ignoring that, bringing the light gray terracotta closer to the ground to kind of illustrate how the ground is lower here or something. And then we'll do something like that for this part of the cliff. And now we will bring the whole thing back, a layer back a little bit. This area here, we'll bring in some of that granite, that light gray terracotta. And then we have the colors for the grass, which will be a mixture between the grass blocks, the green concrete powder, moss block, and the green terracotta. Just kind of repeating that whole pattern all over again, figuring this whole thing out. And in areas like here where maybe the ground is a bit lower, we can even just have it connected like here. It's raining. Why would you rain? How could you rain? And this side, I'm going to blend in these mounds a little bit more with the natural terrain, having less of like the cliff face and everything. And areas where I don't like it as much, I can kind of bring things down, a little less of like a straight line. And there we have a pretty cool little mound here, and now we just need to like smooth out the rest of it, figure out the shape of this area. Now, obviously, I have taken inspiration from the hermits before in previous things, like last episode with the grain fields. I definitely took heavy inspiration from Grian in that. But it has been a lot of fun to try and figure out the way that Pearl does terrain. I know it is not perfect. I know there's probably very many things here that's like, actually, you know, Pearl wouldn't build like this. I like the dirt. The grass has to spread on the dirt right now still. But it's been a lot of fun to figure out. And, you know, we're only halfway done. We're going to do another section over here. We're going to put a bit of a portal in the area somehow. But real quick, we need to figure out how the pathway is getting through here. But right now, I have no idea how that's going to happen. Up here on this level, let's just flatten this out. Get rid of this whole thing. On this side, it's probably going to be the biggest section because I want it to be kind of triangular and everything like that. We are going to get rid of some of the stuff in the center here. Cover up like this little ditch we have going on here. Not exactly what I really want here. This part of the terrain will be going from like this section here all the way over to here, and then kind of following this area along the water just a little bit. And I thought it might be fun to put the nether portal in the hillside here. I am gonna have to ask BH about removing this one, but you know, it is my area, so I hope he agrees. So we're just gonna get started on that as well, and we will see. So we have this as our area. We have a portal that goes into the nether here, and I've put up a little sign saying to spawn and build like a hermit area where everyone will be. And then this way we'll go to my village. This is what it's looking like so far. It's looking pretty good, but we need to put on some finishing touches because it needs it. But this was actually a lot of fun to build this area. I know it's only a small little patch here, but we'll build a little bit of a road today to finish things up, as well as putting in these finishing touches. So I thought some little granite rocks around the place might be a nice little detail. Like some of these granite rocks from this whole area are starting to stick out of the ground. Added a little bit of a design to the ground here, but I am gonna need to expand it. I just didn't have enough coarse dirt, so I have to go get some more, but we'll get some bone meal and put some grass in around the place. But yeah, with the grass, it's really coming together. I'm really liking this area. So put in some finishing touches. Yeah. And with that, this area is complete. We have ourselves a little bit of terrain, and I feel like I have learnt a whole lot in this. I think this was so much fun to try and build in this style, and I'm really glad that BH had the idea of kind of practicing some cool new styles. And Pearlescent Moon's terrain, the way she builds terrain, is genuinely really cool. I don't necessarily think I have done it complete justice, but you know, I think it looks pretty cool. Don't mind in the distance, I definitely didn't deforest an entire area on a stream. We don't need to focus on that. That's spoilers for another time. So this is where my base is, and so coming from my base, we have a little walkway going down through here, down to where my nether portal is. You can go in here. It's not very nice on the other side, so maybe not. It's a bit dangerous, actually. I added a little dock area here, and you can see BH's house. It's burning down. Maybe a bit concerning. I also added a pathway on one of my streams all the way to this bridge over here. So it goes through the whole little build village here. And I even terraformed a little area here and expanded this river so boats can go through all the way from my base all the way to spawn very easily. I added a few stones and some sugarcane around the outside. I don't know how I feel about the sugarcane, but you know, we're gonna keep it. So this is kind of the idea for this whole area, and I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Just starting to learn how to do different styles, and this has taught me a whole lot and also inspired me a whole lot to do more with terrain for my actual main base. So I'm very excited to get to work on my main base next episode, and maybe we will be seeing a few of the little details here potentially finding their way into my builds as we go into the future. I am so short in this area, what the heck? Look at me. Anyway, see you guys next time. Hope you guys enjoyed. Goodbye.